Okay, so looking at the back of this character, the thing that sort of seems out of place is that this is a fairly sort of reptilian or a draconian character, and we've got fairly sort of human-looking features from the chest down. Uh, Now, when I think of reptiles, I usually think of creatures with tails. The problem with this, in this case, is that this is a UDK skeleton. We're not allowed to add any bones if we're going to piggyback onto the animations that are with UDK, with the Unreal Engine. So we can't add a tail that is jointed. Normally what I would do is I would draw out a tail here, or if we were going to animate in Maya, probably straight out and then sort of use a spline IK setup. But because we can't actually animate, we're stuck without having a tail. But I still want to have the suggestion that this creature evolved from a reptile or a dragon that has a tail. So what I'm thinking of doing is actually having a sort of a almost like a flap-like tail, which comes down more or less like a loincloth at the back. And if you have a look at any bobtail lizards or blue-tongue lizards, you'll notice that they have very sort of short, stumpy tails that look more or less like the other, like a mirror image of their head. This is to sort of confuse predators. So we can have that sort of shorter, stumpier sort of looking tail. So the first thing that I'm going to do is actually make some room for the tail. And so I'm just going to spread that muscle mass wide and then come in with the mask. And I'll start up here, and we will bring this tail out from this section here. So now if we invert that, and with a larger draw size, we bring out the tail, making sure to sort of smooth it back. So you can see that we've got that sort of that bulge there that we can sort of work with. We're going to bring it down and sort of underneath. In fact, this sort of reminds me of in Star Wars, if you've ever seen the, hope I don't get sued for mentioning Star Wars, but the Rancor monsters, or the Rancor beast, has like a very sort of short tail that sort of curls underneath the groin area. So it might sort of have something a little bit more in keeping with that design. Now I want this to be not quite so thick, so it has that sort of tail-like shape to it, almost sort of like a flap. So that sort of shape. And what I'll do is also bring this out here, and that's a good sort of protrusion to start with. So I'll just remesh that. And now if I come in here and we're getting closer with a smaller brush, smooth some of this out. There's only so much we can do with the Dynamesh. And this is sort of coming out too wide here, so I'm just going to increase the draw size, bring these legs back in together, which is better. Now another benefit of having like a tail in here, We don't want these too close together because we still want them to be able to articulate when we animate. Another advantage to sort of having a tail is that we can sort of hide the UV seam that we're going to have here. But if we don't want it to come up too high, in fact we might sort of bring that down a bit, give it that sort of crease there as it's sort of almost hanging down like that. And okay, that might be a bit much, because I do want it to still have a sort of a ridge down the middle of the sort of the vertebra forming the tail. So we'll go back to the standard brush and draw something in like that. Something along those lines. Just so that we get the impression that there is actually bones in there. And that will actually join onto a spine sort of spine ridge that we've got here. I might take that down. And I'm not getting quite as much response because I do have lazy mouse on, so I'm just going to switch that off. Take my intensity down, which you always want to do if you turn your lazy mouse off. And then sort of come in. And there are also lizards that have sort of like leaf-like tails. Geckos that sort of have these tails which are in the shapes of leaves in order to sort of blend in with their environment. So just going to have a suggestion of that sort of creature. And remesh. And what I might do is I might mask out some of these sections. The problem with this is that it's hard to sort of tell the difference, or for the program to tell the difference between a tap and a very short stroke. So there we go. There's that. Now I'm just going to smooth these out and then come out like this. And that'll move. Just give it more of a sort of a spiky look. Not sure if I'm going to keep this or not, but we'll see how it looks once it's sort of remeshed. And just to sort of delineate that a little bit more, I'm just going to come in with the standard and slightly smaller draw size. I'm just going to create more sort of pitting around that, almost like these are sort of spikes coming out. Yeah, that's right. We'll see how we go with that. We'll just sort of exaggerate the bumps between them. Okay. So you can see that we've taken out a little bit of that sort of human looking sort of shape and made it a lot more alien. And I'll just try and suggest that sort of continuing in on the body. Yep. So there we go. Another thing that I want to have a look at is these boots. And that's because basically looks like he's a lizard wearing Kiss platform boots. Like he's wearing Gene Simmons boots. So what I might do is if I bring back the skeleton, we can see that the bend comes from here and it comes down to here. Now if this was a human foot, we'd need this sort of platform boot look in order to justify having an ankle that's so high. But because we've reconsidered and we're going for more of a reptile look, we can actually come in here and really reshape this foot. So that's what I'm going to do now. And what I might do is, if I come into here and we go with clip curve, see if this works. Other way, space. Hold down space to move the curve around, and release. So now we've got that sort of shape, and it has sort of squashed all of those polys up. If we have a look here, you can see. Come on now. That's better. You can see that it has just sort of pushed those along there. So with a larger draw size, I'm going to smooth out these edges, and I might actually remesh and then try that. So, okay. Turn off the polyframe. So I'll go back to move, because we can now sort of bring these edges in a bit. And even though I could sort of load up the smooth stronger here, I think it's fine to just sort of, because we're going to be working this quite a bit. Now here I won't use a clip curve. I'm just going to sort of change the overall shape of this foot. And what I might do is remesh that, and then whoops. Okay. Just undo just in case, and I'll turn that back to the select rectangle. And have a look at what we can do with these shoes or feet. So I'm going to make these more sort of reptilian sort of feet. So I might leave it there, and we'll get to these feet in the next lesson.